Good afternoon. Well, again, I used to have a view about the world, how the world should be, what people should do, how things should be. And as I grew older and older, I started accepting that there's not much that I can really do about those which are outside of me. It's not an attitude of giving up, but maybe I did not have the necessary knowledge, wisdom, and tools to work towards what can be called as designing the destiny of the society. Where we speak about the need for a revolution and a social change. As in college students, all of you will be quite aspirational in your views of the world. The world should be like this, the world should be like that. And then slowly the reality starts hitting each and every one of us. Till we start following what is expected of us from the society. Have certain inputs to share, certain scientific evidences, certain interesting frameworks, and then maybe we will also find how we can do this. This is an ambition that each and every one of us have till life beats us to reality. If you really look at the world around us today, compared to what we were 50 to 100 years ago, we are being driven more and more by what we call as the effects of consumerism. There are product advertisements. There are everything that is possible to distract us from what we should be going towards to and make us go towards what they would want us to buy. There is an element of competitive spirit which is going beyond acceptable levels in this world right now. What they say, it's a dog-eat-dog competitive world. People are out there in information everywhere, wherever you go, almost everywhere, whether it's a job market or getting an admission into a prestigious school or a college or a university. The competitive spirit is so high from the age of 5 or 6, or rather from the standard 5 or 6, people are put in preparing for IIT mode. Many of you might have gone through that when you are in. It is something today that is instilled to such an extent that we don't really mind as long as we win at any cost is something that has really been driven deeply into us. The purpose of being educated, or rather becoming illiterate, is almost being lost in the society. We are made literate or we learn our education or whatever you want to call, mainly for pursuing our material ambitions. Forgetting for a moment that the same literacy and education that was given to many of our forefathers in the past was used by them for a social cause, of course after taking care of themselves. Wherever you go, you will find that there is a huge fight for space, physical space, and power. I want to be greater than someone else. If it's a company, I have to be the CEO. If it is A government, I have the chief minister, or the prime minister, or the president. If it's a world council, I will be at the head. In whatever we do, more than really relishing the journey, we start looking at what actually we can acquire in terms of power. At every moment, we are forced to believe that we have to keep demonstrating how great we are in this world. We have to keep, as I say, not just thumping and keep proving to the world that I am a great person. The challenge, if you really look at it, when it manifests itself, for us to achieve all this, if you really look at the world history for the last 2000 years, to prove that someone is powerful, to prove that I need a space, my country's size is not sufficient, I need to pick up a larger space. Only about 40 to 45 years in the last 2000 years has not seen a war. The rest of the 1950 odd years, humanity has seen war after war after war, culminating in 2 world wars, both were seen in the last 100 years space. What we achieved out of that is something that we can see in front of our eyes. Nations were wiped out, atomic bombs were used, and whatever people had to go through to come back from that, even today people are paying a price for the effect of the first atom bomb that was dropped in Japan in 1943. The effect of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is there for everyone. Even after 6-7 generations, people were being born with amputated arms and limbs and legs and things like that. So many things are changing. Because of the need for success, the society, even as a family, we have started losing the value of tolerance. I remember when I grew up, from earlier age to, we all had, the only option we had was to live in a joint family. We had grandfathers and grandmothers and uncles and aunts. You don't know, in fact, up to the age of 5 or 10, who actually your mother or father is. You tend to call everyone as, Anna, Mani, whatever. You don't even know who your actual father and mother is, till someone says. To that extent, we were all working and growing together as a very tolerant society, which instilled its own values in each and every one of us. If you look at it today, it is becoming a default setting. I am not painting a too negative a picture, I am sharing one extreme for you to understand where we are. When I say crossroads, the crossroad can be both positive and negative, either way. That's a crossroad. Today, joint family literally is a father and a mother max with one child living together. That itself is considered joint family. Racism has become and reached its peak in various forms. None of us are exempt from its impact in our day-to-day lives, whether you are in India or any other part of the world. In some way or another, we keep seeing its ugly head coming out, which is a reflection of our inability to accept people those who are around us. There was a very famous YouTube video that you might have seen, which was floating around about 2 years ago. They did an experiment of bringing about 100 people together into a room. Over a period of 2 to 3 days, they were all put together, and one came from a specific religion, the other came from a specific religion, somebody else came from a separate ethnicity, somebody came from a different country, different colors, caste, creed, different wealth brackets. And then after the first or second day, they took a DNA sample of all these people. And after a test was done, they found out that all of these 100 people, almost 95 people had been related to each other 3 to 4 generations before. It was an absolutely amazing experiment. You can go and search on YouTube and be able to find. Where the young people all hug each other and they started understanding that life is beyond religion, caste, nationality, wealth levels, education levels, etc. One of the effects because of the materialism we all know is the extent to which we have taken the earth to its brink. We all know the impact of global warming. Many of you may be wondering this, so as a college student, what is that I am going to get by knowing about global warming, or what can I really do? At a superficial level, yes, there are several things that we can do. I want to talk at a much deeper level. At a superficial level, we can look at consuming less, planting more trees, things like that. If we really look at where society is today, in statistical terms, they call it as a tipping point. Rather, a point of no return. When you reach there and then cross over, it's impossible for you to take a U-turn and come back. Imagine you are sitting in a rocket and till it takes off, you have every possibility of getting out and following whatever you want to do. But once the ignition button is pressed and the rocket takes off, you are into a trajectory which is beyond your control. That typically can be the example of what we call as a tipping point or a point of no return. The society today is almost there. There are reasons, scientific reasons as to why this is happening. Before I get into that, a few days ago I was watching a recent Tamil movie. He thinks of going and taking revenge. And in the climax scene he speaks where he says, what has the society really come to? Can't we peacefully coexist? Are we here to fight with each other, kill each other, pull each other down? And finally lets the four boys who did that act, obnoxious act, let them go free, saying that at least I want to make a difference to them. Like that, in this world, you will still see very few pockets of compassion and love. There are several people who have been great exhibits of that. Whether it's a former President Abdul Kalam who demonstrated in his lifetime how to coexist with people, or Mother Teresa, or many unsung heroes of India who have always been compassionate, whether it's to a neighbor, or to your parents at home, or to your grandparents, or to those around. In a society which consists of multiple stratas of knowledge, education, and intelligence, it's not possible for two people to be at the same level. When someone is wealthy, somebody has to be poor. When someone is knowledgeable, someone is bereft of knowledge. All these things tend to happen. In spite of that, what connects us at a human level is our hearts. And when your hearts open up, you start being compassionate. You start accepting people for what they are. Doesn't matter when someone scores in your class 40 marks, when someone scores 90 marks, outside the college, all of you are the same. You are your favorite daughter to your father. I have one. I know what it means. Recently, I was reading a net for a very interesting anecdote about how the future is likely to unfold. This is based on a story of a Swiss-Austrian teacher who fell into a coma in 1921 during the end of World War I. For almost a year, he was in coma. His name is called Paul Amethyus Dinat. He's a Swiss-Austrian teacher. He had certain health issues and he fell into it. During this period of coma, he had an absolutely amazing experience of traveling almost 3,900 years into the future. And when he went at 3,900 years, he meets people who are still in this world. At the time, the world has less than according to this book, which you can search the net with the name that they shared. Less than 1 crore population, as compared to 725 crores today. 1 crore is the total population. There is abundance in everything that you can imagine, whether it's natural or other resources. People are extremely happy, contented. There is one single global government. And there are hardly 2 or 3 rules in terms of how people have to live. No laws, nothing else. And then when he reaches there, these people actually confirm him and ask him, how did you reach here? He says, I don't know, I'm here. He forgets or is not able to recall as to how he traveled this far. And then they say, nowadays, because of the high levels of intelligence and wisdom, they are able to actually find out where he has come from. And then they say, we are going to let you go back, but before that, we want you to take a message for the future of humanity. This person, please bear in mind, is not an intellectual, is not a scientist, is not a Nobel laureate, he is not a book writer, he is nothing. He is one of those common man, a normal teacher. He is shown a vision of, and the people who are 3,900 years into the future are very, very, very smart. What they did is, they did not show him the future of 100 years from 1921 to 2025. Because they felt that if he goes and shares, then people might do something which is against the plans of the nature. So they showed him from 2025 onwards how the world will be after 3900 AD. Between 2025 and 2300 or 400, the science starts progressing more and more and more, much beyond what we can imagine or fathom. Man starts exploring a lot of things, including space. Whatever currently is being done as a basic groundwork, he is shown a future where 100, 150 to 200 years from now, man actually colonizes Mars. Because of the wars and the fights and the struggles that have been happening in the world, people don't have space, and there are a set of people who find a way, and they all know. Thousands and thousands, maybe crores and crores of people move into Mars and stay there. They colonize, they learn how to live there. This is also actually well documented in one of our Guru's literature, what we call as a whispers from the writer world, about what might happen in the future if humanity does not make a course correction now. After about 100, 150 years of existence in Mars, these people, in some way, many of them lose their lives. For whatever, there is a natural calamity, they are not able to manage. Some of them come back to Earth once and for all, deciding that we will not explore further in the space because we are not meant to live elsewhere. And then they have a journey for another 500 to 600 years, which sees more and more of depletion of natural resources, people fighting, people killing each other, and hatred getting much worse than what it is today. And about 800 to 1,000 years, people start learning to live slowly, peacefully, in a way which allows them to have coexistence, accepting that the other human. Because of necessity, they are forced to change. And then it unfolds over a period of 1,000, 2,000 years, things get better and better, and he goes up to 3,900 years to find this. When he sent back from the coma state, or he comes back, whichever way you want to see it medically, he comes back and then he chronicles it and writes it, and people actually laugh at him. So he does not know what to do, and then he leaves it. Fortunately and unfortunately, those documents were preserved for a long time. Later someone found it out and then it was published. You may be wondering, the future is already written. What do we really do? What do you mean by a social revolution? Is it possible for us collectively to design the destiny of the future of humankind? To a great extent, the answer we can say is a part yes and part no. The answer will be no if we all decide not to do anything about this change that is taking place right in front of us. Why this time? What is so special? If you really look at the journey of Earth itself. If you have read anthropology or if you have read the evolution of the Earth as a subject in your college or part of your interest in your personal life, you will find that every 100,000 years a major shift happens in the life of the Earth. 200 to 300,000 years ago it was something else, 200,000 years ago it was something else, 100,000 years ago was a shift which brought us into this world. From what we were as apes or whatever, we became humans with a very specific capability given to us. We were designated or called by anthropologists as Homo sapiens, people who can think, people who can discriminate. In this 100,000 years, we had to co-live with creatures which were much stronger than, much bigger than us. Almost 50 to 60,000 years of human existence was spent in caves and forests, hiding away from animals which were much stronger and bigger than us. For a period of time, we learned to control them. At some point of time, because of certain breakthrough technologies, whether it was the first cutting tool which later started giving way to weapons, or the grinding stone which gave fire, which allowed people to develop newer ways of controlling natural elements, and hence through that the animals and others which are much bigger than them. Man really set foot in this world as a human being 10 to 15,000 years ago, where the last 10 to 15,000 years man is the absolute king or found that human have started going to the next level. If you look at the word, go back when you go home or you're able to Google the word DNA mutation. Nature in its own way to fulfill its need for it to unfold its plan has started bringing out the next generation of people who have their additional strands slowly programmed and made available. From 1990, found out a set of humans who were being born with a third strand or the third lane open. They also found out that the third strand's color was found out to be closer to purple or indigo. And hence, people whose third strand was opened up were called as indigo children. Science says that it is possible that indigo children also, though there was no scientific evidence to study them. For example, Albert Einstein. He was considered a person with ADHD or dyslexia or whatever you want to call it. People with apparent learning disabilities. But now they found out that science only you can study, critically the research that is going on. In my view, many of you in this room obviously would have been born post 19 or 99. Am I right? In all probabilities, I am talking to the right audience because you might, even without your knowledge, may already have your third strand open. Unfortunately, as of now, science does not yet have a very clear, 100% perfect way to prove if a person's third strand is open or not. It is only the beginning. If the third strand is open, what is likely to happen? These people, they have an additional strand on which programs are being written, can be written, which are beyond the comprehension of what humans currently can imagine. There's a famous saying that what the brain doesn't know, the mind cannot comprehend. We don't know, hence we cannot comprehend. Whereas the generations which are coming, which are already here, right in front of our eyes, and which are being born in a big way, all of them already have the third strand available in open. Unfortunately, there are two things that are possible that can happen. You need to find a way of programming this third strand with better program. The better program could be anything. It could be high levels of intelligence, your ability to tap into the universe's power, your ability to create things which are not possible for normal human beings. But if you do not understand that and take control of yourself and your third strand, if it's available or not, what is likely to happen is the people who are currently present in this world, like us, will borrow from first and second strand the current junk code. In my view, they are all junk code because it teaches you only to live, kill, nothing else. It will now move into the third strand, which means instead of actually creating new vehicles to use, we have studied about hyperbole, the faster way to travel, where the friction is this, it's not based on magnetism because it's a completely different transport vehicle. Likewise, you need to find a different vehicle to program that strand. Which means you need to infuse different thinking, different values into that third strand, which is available to many of you today in my view. I will not be able to prove it scientifically, nor would labs be able to do it for you. If you are able to program, what can happen? Surprisingly, 30 years ago, Russian scientists started working on programming the DNA. They found out by using a combination of sound and light, guided lasers and light and whatever, they were actually able to mutate the DNA of those experiments being monitored. Everything that is being done today for material gain, people have already understood how to mutate the DNA within the two strands. If the third strand is going to be programmed by the first and second strands stunted, it's likely to be corrupted either. Can be changed. Why did you take action? Why did you just go back to a regular routine? See what we have gone through. Hiroshima, Nagasaki is just one example. Like that, several examples are cataclysms, as they call, of unimaginable magnitude can happen if the story by Paul is something that we go through. We realize that this is something that we don't want to live. A script is something that either I can write or allow somebody else to write. Let us now take a moment to realize in the process of meditation and cleaning, what happens is you start moving your consciousness to higher. 15,000 years you have learned apparently how to live. But if you really look at what we are doing, we might not know actually how to live. All we have been doing, thanks to how we are being wired and how we are being programmed, we have only been looking at how to procreate, how to survive, or how to kill someone else for my gain. Kill mentally, physically, space-wise, whatever you want to call it. Kill doesn't mean here that we kill them physically all the time. To such an extent that we have forgotten the art of living. We are just surviving in this world. Eating everybody into space, into their mind, into their lives, to get what I want. Anything is justifiable as far as the end is reached, means don't matter. In this scenario, something surprising happened. People started studying the patterns of how the world was evolved. If you look at the Indian literature, you have heard about the 4 yugas that we all keep going through in cyclical terms. We start with Satya Yuga, and then we go to Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. What happens in each of these yugas is we are still part of the sun. The sun is part of a galaxy that we all know as a Milky Way. The Milky Way is just one portion of the universe. About a month back, many of the big sites were carrying a very interesting article that the entire world is moving away from the word called universe to a word called multiverse. The universe is one which has multiple galaxies coming together, is called a universe. From uni has gone to multi. They are now found out scientifically that there are multiple universes which exist in the world, or what you want to call, below the sky. In this galaxy that we exist, Sun is just one star, and Earth is something that revolves around it, rotating on its own axis. We have found out really something interesting. The way in which we revolve around the Sun revolves around multiple stars, or one single star, which they call it as the greater central sun. This greater central sun is the axis on which the sun actually revolves, and we revolve around the Earth, and we are all revolving the Milky Way and going around in circles. What does it really mean to us, and how does it matter in terms of the breaking point or the tipping point I'm talking about? When you are at Satyayuga, you are actually, the sun is at its farthest from the greater central sun. Though there are various religious scriptures and various thoughts which say what is the length of a yuga, approximately, these 4 yugas put together come to around about 100,000 years or so, according to one school of thought. Let's take that and build on. Which means about 100,000 years ago, the great central sun attracted the sun as part of its gravitational pull. The sun went towards it, and then whatever changes that happened at the fall of time. It went farther and farther and farther. Now it started moving, and in the next 30 to 50 years or 100 years, plus or minus, it is expected that the sun would be moving towards the greater central sun, and then there is a window of opportunity that opens up, where the next level of shift is likely to happen to humankind. This is what scientists have found. What has that got to do with what I am, how I am currently living, and what I really do about all this? Let's take it back to 1953. There were 2 scientists who found a way to study what humans consist of. We all know that our body consists of several things, and one of the things that it consists is the acid. These people started studying the acids and found out, the scientists were called Watson and Crick. In 1953 they did this research which made them world famous. Even today that they really talk about. They found out that all humans seem to have one common pattern inside of us, what they call as the DNA. Chemistry students there will know that DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. When they went deeper and started researching into it, they were able to study and found that it has dual strands. There are 2 strands that form the DNA cell, and these 2 strands, they found out through scientific study, contains every possible experiences and knowledge and memory that we have ever gone through in our human cycle, which is coded into it. Which means, when you see something today, it appears something very similar. You can say that it's all already programmed into you. You are only reliving what has already been programmed into you through your DNA. Each and every one of you has this DNA. To such an extent today people even openly ask, what is the DNA, what is the company's DNA, what is the family's DNA, what is your organizational DNA. DNA means what you believe, what are your value systems. This DNA of course is fed to ribonucleic acid, which is called RNA. It supplies the protein cells by extracting that from your food and feeding the DNA, and the DNA builds. And they also found that this DNA is programmable. They surprisingly found something in that study. They were able to study only about 5% of what they could see. The rest, for whatever reason, they were not able to study. They conveniently, or for lack of knowledge or lack of scientific tools, termed it as junk DNA. Which means 98% of the DNA which is inside us has not been yet understood or unraveled by the scientific community. Of course, studies started much later to ensure that it happens. When this happened, this is where there are two big industries which moved in pretty fast 30-40 years ago. One is the food industry, the other is the pharma or the medical industry. They found out how the DNA in the human being can be programmed for their material benefit. 3 days back I tweeted that the only thing that we spend is, we do continuously is, we eat and burn, we earn and spend. This is exactly what they want us to do. What I did is to beautifully put things in the products in such a way that your DNA would latch onto it and you keep eating. They make you to live longer by giving you medicines. Because in case, if you look at the longevity of human beings, 70, 80 years ago, it was worldwide 45, 50, 60 or something like that. Today the global average age is crossed 75 or 78. India is also doing very well, 70 plus. But if you really look at it, health has become a major casualty because on one side you are continuously fed, and of course to support them they have the present media. You are continuously fed inputs to modify your thinking, to buy and consume. That's why I started with the word consumerism as become a big challenge. You are continuously being fed with images, inputs, advertisements. Everything that you see tells you, buy this, eat this. When you buy this and eat this, if you find the product, go and eat this doctor. Indirectly. There was a beautiful movie long ago that I watched where this person becomes actually from time of birth he is being picked up and his life is being shown live stream across the globe. At the age of 25, he realizes that actually he is part of a live show. He alone, he thinks is living his life, but whereas the entire world is watching how he is doing, and people are making demands on what he should do with his life, and the people who are running his life are actually making him to do that. When I watched that, there was a huge similarity I saw between that and the humans in this world. We all have been completely mesmerized and taken into control by a few set of people for commercial ends. We can't blame them because after all, we finally made the choice of buying and consuming those products. We have forgotten the ability to discriminate, being Homo sapiens. One of the biggest ability we have is ability to discriminate, to think, to make a choice. When I see a product, whether it's a lovely burger or a pizza or a nice masala dosa or whatever, it is you finally make the choice of going and having it. It's up to you. It's your choice, it's your life. You still have a way to live. It's up to you. I am not saying you should not eat all these things, but when you eat, what happens is what I am talking about and how the DNA programming comes into the whole of it. When this started in the last 30, 40 years ago, subsequently there are a lot of possible people who started finding out how this DNA can actually be used to make the life of humans much better. And then they started taking this junk DNA out, and they found out surprisingly that this junk DNA is actually a DNA which has never been programmed or used. Imagine in front of your house you have a 2-lane road system. And this 2-lane road system is completely full of traffic all the time. How am I going to overcome this 2-lane traffic? I need to build additional lanes. What if I had a 12-lane system? What if I had a 22-lane system in front of the house? Unfortunately, the 5% of the DNA that they have, which is a dual strand, was nothing but the 2-lane system that we are all currently constrained with. Unfortunately, like our roads, This two-lane system has already been completely programmed for the last 100,000 years by what we did to ourselves, by what happened to us from around the natural surroundings, the schools, the colleges, whatever. Hence, this two-lane, which is inside of the rural strand, you can go back and do a Google search if you're interested. The impact of DNA and multi-strands and all that. You will find that these two lanes are now completely populated to such an extent it is impossible for you to infuse any new code or program. If I have to change, if I have to bring a social change, what should I do? I have to change the way in which people think. I have to make them more compassionate, like the people were in the year 2980 were. I have to instill values in them which will allow them to live the life as would be better instead of living the way it has been forced. Which means I cannot, if I have a vessel which is already filled with water, and if the water's bottle top is sealed, I will not be able to throw it out and fill the water again. But I have an option. I can buy multiple bottles and start filling it with mix of water, something else which is good for everyone. Finally, what we all want at a very basal human level. All of you will agree that you all want to be peaceful. All of you will agree that you all want to be happy. All of you will agree that you will prefer a conflict-less world, or at least a less conflict world. You will prefer a war which does not have, you will prefer a world which does not have wars. You will prefer where people don't covet neighbors' stuff. You will prefer where people are able to live harmoniously and in plentiful. If all that has to happen, you need to reprogram the humans all over again. And this is the critical juncture I'm talking about. And when they studied the junk DNA or the so-called junk DNA, they found out actually humans are already having the ability to move into multi-strand, which means it's like a snow cover on a road. There are 2 lanes which are open, there are another 10 lanes which are there, which is completely covered with snow or ice. You are not able to see, but it is available. That was actually called as a junk DNA. Today they found out that these additional strands of DNA, some schools of thought have found out that there are 12 strands of DNA. Some schools of thought have found out there are 22 strands of DNA. Depending upon the scientific community is still coming to a final setting on this. They also have found that across the world in a very silent way, how to program people and ensure that they come to their group of doing what they want. There are also a positive set of people who are working, people with love and compassion, who are looking at programming this DNA at a different level. This is where the process of meditation that we all went through is going through a path breaker. Here the third strand is going to be programmed by the first and second strands template. It's likely to be corrupted either. And they found out the people from 2900 who were seen by this person Paul, that actually there are multiple strands that we open, though it is not documented. For people like us, when we continue to meditate and clean, the process that could have been taught to many of you after this meditation and cleaning. What we are doing is we are cleaning the lane, the 2 lanes that are available to us continuously, so that the junk code which is making me to work, walk, live like a robot is now being given a rest. It is said that all of us are influenced by 50 to 100 people in our lives. These people are either born with us, or they are your friends, or they are your teachers, or they are your social circle. Over a period of 40-50 years, these 100 people come out. You all form a group. And man loses the free will because these 100 people are out telling you what you have to do with your life. There are no informed decisions. Even when you want to take informed decisions, somebody is telling you don't do this, don't do that, because they are known to us, they influence us, and we land up taking decisions. And hence, what is likely to happen is, these 100 people's DNA program gets to affect you over a period of time. This might not really make sense to a lot of people today, it doesn't matter. Many of the sciences which were ahead of its time was never understood by the contemporaries. It's not that I am saying something on my own. I am only sharing in a packageable format what I have understood in the last 20 to 22 years of my study and knowledge expansion on these areas. That it is possible for you to clean, through the process of clean up these two lanes of DNA. And while these two lanes of DNA are being cleaned, through the process of meditation, there is a pranahuti, a connection to a much higher force, nature's force, the soul as we call it, is made into you. If you really look at the story of pranahuti per se, it is said that this as a concept, yogic transmission, as many of you would have experienced in your 12 sessions that you went through, or that happened today, this yogic transmission was available about 72 generations or beyond during the time of Lord Dasaratha. And it had been lost to humans at some point of time. If you calculate 72 generations roughly, it will translate to, depending on the life that those people had during those times, it translates roughly about 70 to 80,000 years. During that time, for whatever reason, nature decided that man is unable to understand the change that is happening and let us go back. And when the great masters of Arthur said about the kingdom, is it something that happened by an accident? Or is it something that nature colluded to provide to give one more chance till it shuts the door again? If you all are part of Hinduism, you understand if you are Vaishnavite or Saivite, on a given date, whether it's Shivratri or Vaikuntha Ekadasi, you go to the temple on that day, the door opens, and you go in, you are supposed to reach the realm of God. This is the belief you all have. Likewise, there is a window of opportunity that has opened up and it's likely to be available for the next 40 to 50 years or so. Why am I talking to you all this? You may be wondering, I am only 18, 19 years old. Because 40 to 50 years from now, you will be the citizens who run the world of this country. You would have been dead and gone very long ago. At least 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if not today, if you look back and realize that there was something which was sensible told to us on this day when we met. Either I can decide to do something about it today, or I can decide to while away my life with the regular habit that I have been habituated and keep following to my heart's content. Choice is yours. But all the aspirational people in my view I have seen are always people who are the 10th standard to final year of graduation. Because once you get a job, your life is finished. Because you have to follow what your boss says and it goes on and material life takes over. At least now you have the comfort of someone else taking care of your material need, where you at least have a choice of doing something to yourself. It is not stopping. In fact, it makes you a better student. It improves your memory curve. Whatever you are doing, I think it will help you in different ways. It helps you to overcome fear. So then we clean the system of those two-lane DNA. Fear is a factor which is instilled in human beings from thousands and thousands of years because we were the hunted species. We were told to survive. And hence fear was instilled because without fear we cannot survive. So fear is what allows your chemical reaction to take place and allows you to escape, fight or flight approach. And hence it was part of the two-lane code. This, through the process of cleaning, slowly gets taken out. And this is being filled with yogic transmission, which was available about 70 to 80,000 years ago, which has been reinvented today in the last 70 to 80 years and made available to humans. Even now, it's available to very few people who are actually meditating and experiencing it. When it happens, what happens is there is a shift in consciousness that happens. A shift in consciousness is when from moving from what I am to an animal being, to a normal human being, to a human being who understands that I can control and change the destiny of the future races. If you have to meet your grandchildren 5 generations from now, they come and ask you, what kind of a world have you left behind for us? Were you responsible to ensure that this was reversed when it was possible? When it was told you that this can be changed, why did you take action? Why did you just go back to regular routine? See what we have gone through. Hiroshima and Nagasaki is just one example. Like that, several examples are cataclysms, as they call it, or unimaginable magnitude can happen if the story by Paul is something that we go through. We realize that this is something that we don't want to live. A script is something that either I can write or allow somebody else to write. Let us now take a moment to realize in the process of meditation and cleaning, what happens is you start moving your consciousness to a higher dimension. You start seeing people for what they are worth in the longer run, with love, with compassion, with understanding. It does not make you a spineless cover. It does not make you a person who runs away from materialistic pleasures of life. You can still live your life the way you want. All you have to do is to reprogram your DNA through the process of making your heart and mind work together by the process of meditation and cleaning. There are many scientific aspects to it. At this point of time, I do not want to get into that. I'll move to the last segment and give you about 4 points as to what we can do collectively as humans so that we take control of the destiny and change it forever. Suggestion number 1, or the first cardinal principle. We can only change destiny in the present. Past is not in our hands. Future unfolds today. Principle number 1, we can change the destiny only in the present, which means the moment to act is always now. The moment to act is not tomorrow. The moment to act is not day after tomorrow. I go back home, take rest, let me come back. No. Principle number 1 says we can only change destiny in the present. Second principle says we create destiny for ourselves with our everyday thoughts, our wishes, what attracts us, what repels us, our likes and dislikes. The third principle says we need to work upon the mind, which is the pivotal point for us to help to reprogram our DNA. We need to work upon the mind to design our destiny, which means the control of changing your destiny is given to you. If you don't take it, somebody else will take it and drive. Either I get into the car and drive, or I am taken as a hijacked passenger and the traveler or the driver takes me wherever he wants. To paraphrase the principle number 3, we need to work upon the mind to design your destiny, and for that, the only option is the meditative practice. As of now, science does not have tools. Spirituality actually is science repackaged. Though people will have different terms, I would dare say that spirituality is nothing but science repackaged. In a way in which human life can be changed without you having to become a rat in a lab experiment. The fourth and final principle. We are not alone in this process. We are all connected. What our masters used to call as the egregore. Egregore is what is called as a collective thinking or a collective consciousness of people who do the same thing all over again and again and again. When we do that repeatedly, what happens is, it is said that for a tipping point for it to happen in the human population, roughly about 5 to 7% of the people in the world will have to do what all of us do. Then it becomes what we call the tipping point. Once that happens, it is something that will be irreversible and humans will change for the better. And this has to happen say in the next 30 to 40 years time. And who are the change makers? The people who are the threat of me. People who are the age group of 18 to 20. To design the destiny of the humanity, we start with ourselves first. I need to be the change practitioner first before I become the change agent. And then expand our radius to include others. Share with people who are around you. Start with one. One gets one, one gets one, one gets one. All the famous religions of the world have spread like that. Till the founder came, there were no people practicing that specific religion. When somebody started practicing it, one started telling another the benefit, the other the benefit, it started unfolding. Start sharing, because after all we are sharing something useful, which will help us to take control of my own future, through which allows me to take control of the future itself, of the entire humanity. A day will surely come when together we are capable of changing the humanity, changing the path that humanity is taking. And this is something that we have put upon ourselves as a big responsibility. It is quite easy for you to not think of the consequences of what you're currently doing and say that I'll live my life the way currently it's unfolding, let whatever happen. Or alternately, we can decide. I made a decision 26 years ago when I started meditating. Within some time I understood what it really means. Our masters have been working on divine meditation through the process of meditation on humanity for a long time. But for it to unfold, it needs an egregore. For it to have an egregore, we need to practice something together. All it takes is about an hour of your time per day. Through this process of meditating, cleaning and praying and connecting myself to an higher force and sharing this repeatedly over a period of time, we allow that the first and second lane of our DNA is cleansed and then it's reprogrammed with values which are useful to the current set of people who are in this generation, to the people who are in the next generation who have the third and fourth and fifth strands of DNA being opened up. Where it is possible that you will be able to write your own program into those cells and values through which you can create your own DNA. Through the process which we all can rewrite the destiny of the world. Let us hope that this small meeting that we are having today, where we share this principle, will create a ripple effect, like a small stone put in the middle of a pond. It creates a ripple effect which is unstoppable, and that 30-40 years from now, when the real change happens, we can look back at history and say that we did a big to ensure this happens. When it comes to people, we have two choices. Either we can watch history being made, or we can actually make history. If you want to make history, please join this momentum and start meditating and carry on. Tomorrow your name will be in the history books. Thank you, all this.